Us to discuss Fox News contributor Tammy Bruce and Harlan Hill, Donald Trump for President Advisory Board member. Tammy, wow, that's scathing. I mean, that's even more scathing than normal for Chuck and Nancy.
Yeah, and it's all projection. And when we look at this, these are the people that sent the Titanic out and now are upset that people are trying to get in the freaking lifeboats. This is what we're dealing with here. What's interesting is these subsidies, and it's important for the American people to know, the Democrats might want them to remain confused. This is not about the subsidies, obviously, for the premiums. This is money that goes to the insurance companies. It's effectively a government solution for a government-caused problem. The insurance companies, of course, they don't want them to raise the premiums because if they've got it now, they're forced to provide all kinds of benefits to people that they don't want. So this money was to try to mitigate that dynamic for the insurance companies. It's already been tied up in the courts for a number of reasons, part of which is that may have been illegal. Two, also we know that the Congress made absolutely no provision for funding of this. So this has already been a disaster from the beginning. It's something that the Democrats are responsible for.
It was not promoted. It was not promoted at all. It was in the final package, which I thought was incredible because the numbers were astronomical. And again, the insurance companies went along with it because they're getting paid no matter what.
Exactly.
For Harlan, what about the notion, though, you break it, you own it? President Trump was elected in part to fix Obamacare. So as it unravels and as bad news keeps coming out, the media is going to point fingers at him.
Absolutely. I mean, what this is all about is this is a Democratic plan, big government plan for central control, price control, and they're going to subsidize, or they're trying to subsidize, outrageous premiums that they cause, as Tammy so articulately laid out. The problem here is that Republicans in Congress are apparently unable to deliver on meaningful Obamacare reform. And so the president's standing up and he's saying, to your point, that if you're not going to do it, I'm going to deliver on some of these fronts. And yes, Democrats are going to continue to challenge this in courts. We've already seen the California Attorney General say that this is going to be at the top of his agenda. But at the end of the day, the president was sent to Washington with a mandate. Yeah, well, and if Republicans aren't going to deliver, he is.
You get it that the Democrats did an end run around the congressional constitutional purview of the power of the purse with the subsidy. How do you handle people with pre-existing conditions and the poor and the elderly, though?
Well, this was unfortunately, there may not be a solid solution for this, just being honest. But what the Democratic Party did with Obamacare was they deliberately torpedoed the American middle class. And what I mean by that is they, instead of increasing funding for programs like Medicaid and Medicare, which are good Democratic programs that they like, they deliberately decided that they were going to force people with pre-existing conditions into the same pool as healthy Americans.
They did increase Medicaid spending, but I hear what you're
saying.
Well,
Medicaid expansion.
To cover them.
Right. Yeah. I mean, in fact, that's one of the main reasons Republicans can't get their act together, because a lot of states, despite being warned, were seduced by the fact that the federal government will cover 100% for a while. Exactly. And so you get these red states. And even now, someone like a John Kasich is pushing back against almost everything that President Trump tries.
And that's it. It's always what the Democrats have done is try to have these golden handcuffs on people. But
it's worked.
But it's also part of what the Republicans are trying to address is Liz's issue about the pre-existing conditions, these block grants, saying, all right, and I would have had the mandate, risk pools like we do for bad drivers. There is a solution to this, but the sending of a block grant to a state like California that's kind of headed toward bankruptcy in a way it already doesn't have any money, to be able to mandate how they use this money. Otherwise, it goes into this hole where you never find it. But there is a solution. What Obama wanted to do was to begin single payer of this massive movement of money to the states to fund this dynamic, because they wanted it all to be the government in the first place.
Let me stop for 1 second, guys, because I wanted the specific criticisms now is that, okay, it's great you bring down these borders, these state borders, and you offer these bare-bone deals, and young people, particularly young people who are just now forming families, are going to go into them. So to Emac's point, where does the money come to offset the higher risk of folks? And so the Democrats are going to say it was mean-spirited. You already heard the term spiteful and those kind of things.
Yeah. You know, none of this is going to work. This whole conversation, the current level of debate in Washington is a joke. We are on a collision course with single-payer, socialized medicine, and we were put on this course as soon as the Affordable Care Act passed.
You think all of this was orchestrated?
We're not going to solve this. As soon as you give people entitlements,
you were a Democrat. You think this all was orchestrated?
There's no doubt about it. Absolutely.
All right,
absolutely.
Guys, let me ask you if you guys remember this. Back in July, Senator John McCain The scene was set. It was almost like Gary Cooper in High Noon, but a little different, right? He walked into the Senate chamber during the vote on GOP health care, and then he gave it the finger, actually the thumb. He killed the bill. Now there's some serious concerns that it can happen again. Check out this headline. It's from the Washington Post. Quote, McCain could give the same thumbs down to tax overhaul as he did to health care. All right, Harlan, do you think he's going to go up and give him the old thumbs down?
You know, at this point, it seems as though there are certain Republicans that were never Trumpers, to be fair, and may have some personal animosity with the president and are more interested in sticking it to him than representing their constituents. And we saw this with Obamacare, right? McCain ran, in just 2016, he ran on repealing and replacing Obamacare. In just 2016, he ran on real comprehensive tax reform. So what's the holdup here? And if you don't like the proposals that are coming out from other Republicans in the Senate and the House on tax reform or Obamacare on these other issues, then why isn't McCain authoring legislation? Why isn't he proposing alternatives to what's currently put before him? And
by the way, I want to just alert the audience that Dow Jones Industrial Average just hit another all-time high. So while we're having this conversation, at least you're getting wealthier.
Consumer sentiment, Charles.
To offset all these other things, you know, But Tammy, it's you do wonder what happened to the Republican Party that ran for 7 years on repeal and replace Obamacare, and now on the notion of low taxes. All of a sudden, Republicans don't believe in supply side economics anymore. They're concerned about things that I never heard Republicans being concerned about.
Yeah, at least Senator McCain is consistent. He voted against the George W. Bush tax cuts as well, until at one point when they had been passed, then there was a third stage where he voted to continue them.
Yes.
So his argument's always been about process. But here's my problem with the senator. He's been in there for 30 years. One of the argument is when you're in there for a long time, it's because you have influence and you can change things. We know that Senator McConnell knows Senator McCain, and yet his argument is, well, with the Obamacare, it didn't go through the right process. So are they not talking? Or is this simply a setup so that he has an excuse to vote no? What his office is saying, and people who know him are saying about the tax reform, is that at least these will go through committee. His complaint about the Obamacare repeal bills was that they weren't even doing that. So his excuse may be there is some process here that they're going through. But look, I like that he likes process. We're in a crisis right now. He is an influencer there. He is a lion of the Senate. He had better get on board to figure out how he can vote yes, as opposed to screwing the American people.
His best friend in Washington, D.C. was the author of the last health care bill, and that didn't help. So process, communication, and all those things seem to have fallen flat there. Guys, thanks a lot.